Hello, Ted here with Whole Latte Love. We're going to go over the Gaggia Classic Pro, specifically how to remove the shower screen.
And why would you want to do that?
Well, you need to remove the shower screen for a couple things. One, you need to get the screen out every now and then to clean that off, because if you don't, the original shower screen that comes with the machine has a bunch of laser cut holes. We'll see if we can.
Oh yeah.
You see all the tiny holes in there?
Yep.
Those get plugged up after a time with the coffee residue and whatnot, and that'll start restricting your flow to the portafilter. So you want to take this out and clean it from time to time.
Okay.
The other reason will be to get to the plate underneath it so you can remove that and then change your group gasket, which you need to do, probably about once a year, depending on what kind of group gasket you have in there.
All right, let's get into it.
So one of the tricks to removing the screw that I do at my workbench is I actually tip the machine upside down. Now make sure your water tank is out of here. Make sure the machine is turned off, unplugged, hopefully cooled down. I mean, you can handle it when it's warm, whatever.
Yeah.
But right now this machine is unplugged, everything's removed from it, and it's completely cold because I can touch everything. So we're gonna flip it upside down. And this isn't gonna hurt the machine at all. What this does is it makes it easier to access that screw for the shower screen.
Okay.
Now what I use is, there's a couple of screwdrivers. They're really long handled. You don't really need them. It just makes it easier to put better torque down on the screw. You can use a short one that can fit in here, and then fight with it a little bit with the amount of space that you have in here. But I like to use these really long ones. This one barely, the handle barely covers up, comes across here. Because you want to go down in this V. You're going to be on a slight angle, which is why you want the torque with the longer screwdriver. But it's in there, and then what I can do is I can push down and turn the screw.
So you're pushing down pretty hard.
Yeah, you want to put some torque, and then you got the body of the machine that you can hold on to, and then really try to turn it.
And now, sometimes these get stuck, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to show how to deal with that?
Yeah, this one's a little stiff, which is why I'm not going to try to really torque it out, because I'm going to show the trick to removing the screw if you can't get it out, because sometimes they just get stuck in there.
Okay.
They're either over tightened or build up over time because it hasn't been removed or something like that. Now you're having a problem getting the screw out, even with this method.
Sure.
And you have already stripped the screw head, which now you're going to have to replace that, which we do have that also. Unfortunately, the easiest way that I can show you how to do that, you're going to have to sacrifice the shower screen.
Okay.
We're going to use the shower screen to break the screw apart.
That's part of the deal, huh? Okay.
So what I use is like either a really fine flat blade screwdriver. You can grab like a small pick of some sort, anything with like a very sharp edge type thing to it, with a handle. And you're going to want to just kind of feel around. You might even have to push down into you can see how the shower screen moves up and down a little bit there. You're going to indent it somewhere, preferably in the outside, not more in the middle, but somewhere around here. And you want to make sure the handle is facing out.
Okay.
Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the hammer.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And you're probably going to want to make sure it's on something that isn't slippery.
Okay.
Because this is probably going to slide around on me, but I'm going to try to hold it and whatnot. But now I have that screwdriver dug in there, and you got to think this is going to unscrew the screw, you got to spin it this way. Counterclockwise. Yeah. So you're going to try to force that screen to go in the counterclockwise motion. Okay. So we're going to sit here, we got the screwdriver dug in there, I'm going to hold it as best I can into that screen, and I'm just going to start tapping. And if it starts slipping, just try to find a spot again, and eventually you'll get it dug in, and you can see the shower screen starting to move there. Ready? See how it's spinning?
Yep.
And eventually, that'll help you break the screw free. And now the screen is moving pretty easily as I am doing that. See that?
Yep.
So sometimes when you're doing this, the screw will actually break free and start spinning with it. Okay. Which then, at that point, you can take your screwdriver, or whatever screwdriver you're using, and then break it free the rest of the way. Okay. Now we've dented the screen up, but we had to do that in order to get that stuck screw from being stuck. And now we can take the screw out, if it wants to. It's being stubborn.
You just need longer fingernails, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I use these for work a lot. And now I just tap on the screen a little bit and then pull it out. And you can see this one actually needs to be cleaned. This is a machine that we have sitting around. That's why I'm using it for an example.
Yes.
It does have a little bit of buildup in it, but it's not really plugging a lot of the holes. It is plugging some of them.
Okay. We want a nice good flow, even flow out of that.
Yeah.
And now I brought you over this screen here. So we have this like Baristapro Nanotech coated screen.
Yep, this is an option. Instead of using the original screen for the machine,
there's an original one.
Yeah, this is the original one. And then this is the new Nanotech screen.
Right.
Which you can purchase and replace with this instead of that.
Right. And then
this is the shower holding plate that you need to remove from time to time. This will get built up. As you can see, there's already stuff kind of built up in there.
Yep.
Not a lot, but you want to take and clean this plate out while you got the screen out also.
Okay.
And in order to remove this plate, use this Allen head tool. And with mine, it's long enough. You can use like short ones that have, you can use like bits. If you have a bit set, you know, Allen bits with a screwdriver thing or a gun or a ratchet with an adapter on it. Anything that you can use to put your bit in there. And then you just start undoing these two screws. Once you undo these two screws, they're short, they're not very long. They're just, you know, a little bit in the group head to hold the plate into place. You can see that one's just spinning around and now it's not.
Yep.
So we're gonna undo that one. These usually aren't difficult to get out. Sometimes there'll be a little bit of coffee buildup, plugging the hole. You'll just have to pick it out, scrape it out as best you can so you can get your tool to go in there. Now the screws are out. We're gonna put those off the side. And the best way to remove it, especially if it's been in there for a while and you haven't like taken it out to clean it, is I usually just use a flat blade screwdriver. This one's easy because it isn't that old, but sometimes they're really stuck in there and you'll have to put a little downforce in it to pop it free. And then you get it out and now you can clean it, Kafiza, clean, you know, and scrub it down and get all the buildup off of it. And what can happen is these 4 holes right here, that's what supplies the water to the plate, between the plate and the screen.
You want those clean.
Yeah, you want to make sure these are completely clear because if they're plugged up, that's going to reduce the amount of water going through the screen.
And you see them in the shop kind of
plugged up all the time. I do see them. Yeah, I've had ones where all 4 of them were plugged up, 2 or 3 of them, you know, and I just clean it out and, you know, clean up the plate and reuse the plate. And sometimes the screen is so bad with the buildup, it's going to be hard to get it cleaned out.
Now, something I know now, that's an aluminum plate.
Yep.
And I know now the Classic Pros are coming with a stainless steel, which is heavier, retains more heat.
Yeah, they have a newer stainless steel plate that's in the Gaggia Classic Pros. I was actually surprised that this one had the original.
I think some of the original Classic Pros still had the aluminum plate.
Maybe when they first started producing them or something.
First run, yeah.
But yeah, they have a newer stainless steel plate in there, which is a little bit better than the original one.
All right.
And then after this,
you go after the group gasket?
You can go after the group gasket. So my trick to the group gasket, and this is a new group gasket right here. We also have silicone group gaskets that go in these machines. If you want to purchase a silicone gasket, which are better than these. These ones here, you're going to want to change at least once a year, depending on usage, I guess. But I recommend doing it once a year because they get, you know, they're under a lot of heat. Every time you're brewing with it, you're putting that portafilter and you're pressing into that gasket and it causes an indent, and then the gasket, because it's rubber, dries out over time and hardens and then becomes, you know, not easily sealable with the portafilter anymore. And then you start having water coming around your portafilter.
You're clocking in way too far, like the, you know, you're just
or you leave your portafilter in the machine as you're not using it. And
well, we always tell people to do that so it's warm.
Okay. Well, I mean,
don't clock too hard.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're not going to use it for a long period of time, I would definitely remove it.
Okay. So what's the trick here?
So my trick is, you know, sometimes they might, depending on how often you have or have not changed it, the gasket will either be hard as a rock and it might break out into pieces, or it'll be flexible enough where you can pull it out either way. But my trick is to use a pointed long screw. It has to be pointed. It can be a wood screw, any kind of screw that has a point to it, usually coarse thread. This is a coarse thread. And I'll stick it on the group gasket.
That's right on the rubber there.
Yep. And it's going to be in an area where I can put my screw gun or, screwdriver. I use the screw gun because it's easier. And we're going to drill the screw into the gasket.
Okay.
And I'm just going to put my gun on the screw, and I'm just going to start going slowly with it, keeping in mind to keep away from the group head a little bit. Once I get it going, it's going to start going into the group head, and it's actually pulling the group gasket out. It's not going to hurt the group head. It's in that channel where the group gasket goes, and it can't drill through it or screw into it. So it's just using the back of the group head to pull the gasket out when it starts going up the threads.
Okay.
So now that it's on the screw and up the threads, I can actually
just kind of use it to pull it out?
Just use the screw to pull it out.
Now, there's a chance that could come out in pieces, and you might have to do a little digging.
You might, it'll help break it up if it is hard as a rock or whatever and you haven't changed it. What it'll do is it'll help break it up, and you can use like a flat blade screwdriver and get underneath the piece that you broke out and keep working your way around and get all the old stuff out of there. Once you get all the old stuff out, or even if it comes out like this, then you can go ahead and get your new group gasket and just place it down in there and push it down in all the way. And that's it. And then you can put your shower plate that you've cleaned, made sure the hole's all clear, put that in there. The 2 screw holes will line up with the 2 here. And while you're in here too, you can always clean out the group head area here, which is going to be a lot easier doing it this way, of course.
Sure.
So we're just going to kind of line those up. Where did I put those? Right here. We're going to just kind of put one in and wiggle it and get it to fall down on the hole, which it did. And I'm going to place the other one in there. And then I'm going to take my tool and I'm just going to tighten these screws down.
And you don't have to have that long one. You could use a shorter.
You can use short. You can use one with an adapter on a ratchet, or doesn't really matter on what specific tool. I just use this one because it's easier since it's upside down.
And do you need to crank these in hard?
No,
or
I just go until they stop and give it a little snug. You don't want them over tightened because you want to be able to take those out down the road. And then we'll get our new shower screen, either the new style or...
So that's just kind of the stock there on the left, and then there's the newer
So we'll put the newer one in, make it look pretty. And then you just put your screw. If you had to order a new one, get one. But if you didn't strip the screw head, then you can just go ahead and you want to go in until it stops, basically, because you want to be able to remove that out later. Because that's usually some of the problem when it could be over tightened, and then it's going to be hard to remove later.
All right.
And then once you're done, you can just flip your machine over, plug it in, put your water tank in, get it running, and then you should be good to go.
All right, Ted, thanks for taking us through the group head there.
You're welcome.